Hello, today's February 28th, and we're doing business and social stories. Bye.
This is the last of February, and that's deeply depressing.
Say leap this year, leap year?
I don't keep up with that.
Is that a leap year?
It might be.
Oh my God. Actually, I mean, you can continue. I'm going to look it up, though.
Oh, thank you for that permission.
Yeah, you can keep on with your program. I'm going to double check. I think it's a leap year.
You know who had a leap last week was
Definitely
NVIDIA.
a leap year, yeah.
NVIDIA announced their earnings and line leaped. It gapped up.
Nvidia posts revenue up to 265% on booming AI business. This is despite the sanctions and literally everything.
It is a leap year.
So NVIDIA's market cap in after-hours trading, the market was closed. After-hours trading, NVIDIA's market cap increased by one Netflix.
Jensen hungry.
That's not, like, it just doesn't even feel real.
If you had bought, see, what did Pelosi put? It was like $175,000 in options. On January, whatever. She's up
They'd pay off my
1.8 million.
But see, options can go a lot. If you guess the right number, then you get a lot more.
Yeah.
Because you're buying really cheap out of the money, and then when it goes into the money,
Yeah.
it's massive. So, yeah, I'm sure she's probably planning a new yacht. Now, here's an interesting headline because this is not so much the headline that's interesting, but the political machinations that preceded it, which really attribute to this kind of thing.
The headline is Apple says the iPhone 15's battery has doubled the promised lifespan. The real headline should have been ahead of EU rulings saying that you need an easily replaceable battery if it has lifespan less than this. Apple says, yeah, our battery lifespan is this. It's like, but wasn't it this? What did you change? Nothing.
We changed that number right there.
We sent this to the marketing team, and we told them to switch all this out.
But it's not just like you'll be banned if you don't have this. You can sell a phone that's got a crappy battery life, but there's going to be a letter grade and a color. And I think this solidly puts Apple into AB territory.
Yeah. It's supposed to be 80%. It's supposed to maintain 80% of its capacity after 1,000 cycles. And batteries less than that have to be easily replaceable. You see how this works? Yeah.
Well, NVIDIA's number one by quite a long distance, but everybody else is still trying to scramble. They're trying to figure it out. They want to make their own processors. They want to get a piece of that pie.
Microsoft will use Intel to manufacture a homegrown processor. It's going to be an ARM processor, right? Microsoft's going to make ARM for the Surface tablets so that they can have something to compete with Apple, because who's making a 2-watt x86 processor?
It's going to be AI. Everything going forward is all just focused on AI. And Microsoft is, again, trying to get away from that big green behemoth who makes everything.
Microsoft develops AI server gear to lessen their reliance on Nvidia, the information reports. Yeah, even Nvidia agrees that $40,000 for an H100 is too much. So as much margin as Nvidia has, the market is looking to diversify rapidly.
But this isn't even the H100. It's the networking peripherals that go with the H100, which you basically have to buy alongside it.
Yeah.
And Microsoft's saying, hey, we don't want to do that. We want to make our own.
Microsoft should just buy Cornelis Networks, like the old Omnipath people, because Omnipath wasn't terrible. It was surprisingly, I thought it was going to be a meme, but it was actually surprisingly okay. Not as good as InfiniBand, but it's pretty good. I think that was Intel's real problem, is like Intel doesn't know how to be number two, so they're like, this is never going to beat InfiniBand. Get rid of it. It's like, but in this market with an InfiniBand shortage, Omnipath would be doing really well.
Now I'm curious if this headline was legitimate, or is this just trying to drive people to buy new phones?
Apple warns users to stop putting wet iPhones in rice.
Never.
So why? Because there's a chance that some rice might get into your iPhone.
That seems not as bad as the water in the iPhone.
If the rice gets in there, it'd probably absorb some water, right?
Yeah.
They say you shake it out, you leave it in a well-ventilated area for 30 minutes. I don't think that's long enough. Then you plug it back in. That just seems like a way to kill your phone.
Yeah. Gonna let it dry out thoroughly.
Also, if bits of rice are a risk, like, can you take your phone anywhere? Like, can you take it to the beach or on a trail or like anywhere?
Yeah, what if I got some pocket rice?
Yeah, just a
And then
snack
I
for later.
Put my phone down in there. Maybe, like feed some birds while I'm out. I think that kills them. And iPhone, this could be an indicator of how successful they are with ways to make you buy new phones.
The top 7 best-selling phone models of 2023 are all iPhones because we've all been collectively brainwashed. I don't even think it's that we've been brainwashed. It's that, like, Google is asleep at the helm. I mean, look at search engine. Like, how Google searches is a microcosm for everything. Android feels like the entire Android team are all using iPhones at this point, and they're just like, yeah.
The bottom 3 of the top 10 are all Samsung phones, but none of the Samsung models you've heard of. They're all just like trash tier budget Samsung phones.
After having a Samsung, I don't think I'd ever get one again.
Really? What did you not like about it?
Just all the ads. Or like it'll try to like download the...
Oh, you don't think that iPhone's going to do that?
Well, yeah, but it seems especially aggressive.
I think Verizon might have
Why aren't you using
Yeah.
Bixby?
something to do with that as well.
Use Bixby.
Please use Bixby. We spent so much money making it.
Now, here's a story. How many times have we seen this headline? From cars to video cards. It seems like everything's just a lie.
Intel's been accused of inflating CPU benchmark results by Spec. Finally, Spec looks at this and says, you know what? It's actually like you're as much as 9% off here. Like, these optimizations depend on knowledge of what we're testing in the Spec benchmarks. So they have archived a bunch of results. They haven't deleted them entirely. You can still look at them in the database, but they no longer factor into the overall Spec performance. Because the compiler is like, oh, I realize you're running a benchmark. Let me do this thing that's not useful in the real world. This is not new behavior from Intel, but it is disappointing.
And also disappointing is AMD, who hinted that they might give you some functionality when in fact they never intended to.
AMD confirms Ryzen 8000G APUs don't support ECC RAM despite initial claims. And I left this out of my review because I was like, this doesn't work. And it's always been a little sketchy and a little problematic even on prior APUs. But yeah, you're better off using a 7900 No X for applications where you might have previously used a 5000G, for example.
The Pro version, they suggest, might have it.
But
So
no one has that, so
No, you have to wait.
yeah.
And I gotta say, when it comes to like Neuralink and all that stuff, I don't want it anywhere near me. I don't want anybody knowing my thoughts. I know how the darkness.
I
is
don't
in
want to
there.
know my own thoughts.
Yeah, let's just keep that bottled up where it needs to be. But this demo made me think I might have to get that someday because think about the user interface implications here.
Neural wristband for AR/VR input will ship in the next few years. So this is a wristband that you wear, and it monitors your nervous system, and it's able to track everything. And that looks so much better than anything else we've ever seen.
So, you look at this, and those little tiny movements that person is doing there is just precision scrolling, most likely, and clicking. So much better than what we've got. Oh, they actually show it there. I didn't watch enough of that video. I don't know. Here's someone just typing with no keyboard. Look at that. I wonder what else can they tell from a wristband about me, though, right?
Oh, so much.
Like how much of my information can they extract? They can certainly get what I'm typing.
This thing knows when I'm on the elliptical without me telling it. It knows when I've gone for a walk without me telling it. It knows a lot.
You just had a cup of coffee.
Yeah. It knows. It knows.
Well, this man certainly has no hope of any privacy for the rest of his life, but he's probably okay with it because think about not being able to interface with a computer for ever how many years he was stuck, and then all of a sudden having the entire internet. What would you do first? It's hard to come up with, right? Engagement challenge.
Neuralink's first human patient able to control mouse through thinking, Musk says. I'd probably go back and play the LucasArts games.
I feel like I'd be more like interested in talking to my family, but
Well, his family's probably with him in the hospital, right?
yeah, but you haven't really been able to interface with them.
There's a couple things in this article phrased like this patient is, days or weeks away from death.
Could this guy not talk? We don't know his details, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
If he does die, we'll soon know his details, which, knowing how sociopathic Musk is, he probably chose someone that was near death so that he can talk about them after they die.
Can we speed this up? I need to release a press release.
Yeah. If you're going to die, get on with it. Now, here's an amazing thing that just shows us the news paradigm that we live in, because last week, everybody ran one story. Now we get the response. I've read several articles from both angles, and I have no idea what the truth is.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're gonna have to buy a Cybertruck just to figure this out. Cybertruck engineer addresses claims that Tesla EVs rust in the rain. Says no, there's probably a surface contaminant like an iron filing or something from railcar shipping that rusts, and then the rust contaminates the surface of the stainless steel.
Except in this case, if you're the engineer and you're presumably still working for Tesla, like, would you badmouth it?
some other people also made videos though. One guy did a side by side where he zoomed in on a car lot, a truck, and it had similar type of things. They claim it comes from metal shavings falling onto it during the manufacturing or delivery process. And then those metal shavings rust, not the truck. It still looks like rust. I've never seen that on my car. And to go along with the government story, we learned that the White House is now saying, hey, you know all that stuff we said about EVs and you have to have them by a certain year and all that stuff? Forget all of that. We're not doing that anymore.
Mercedes-Benz backs off a plan to only sell EVs by 2030.
Anyway, the ocean currents are collapsing. Don't worry about that.
This is not going to save the ocean's currents. This is just going to make lines go up. Except people won't buy them. But will people buy this? Because this is going to be a very closely watched. How confident are you? Would you put all your pennies into this?
Reddit will offer shares in its IPO at an issued price to 75,000 of its most active users, according to this report. My favorite thing about their IPO filing is that they listed the subreddit Wall Street Bets as one of the major risks to their filing because of the GameStop chaos and fiasco. Diamond hands.
Did I miss a sort here? I might have missed a sort. But yeah, when it comes to television and cord cutting, it seems like there's one big winner. And I got to say, I can't argue against this. This is all of my viewing.
YouTube dominates TV streaming in U.S. per Nielsen's latest report. Not YouTube streaming television, but YouTube streaming in place of television, but also including television.
Yeah, they have their cable package now, which is not competitively priced.
I always just close all those ads out. Also, I thought it was interesting that thing you posted that was like a survey of tech workers. They mentioned like time spent on social media. They didn't include YouTube in the list. And I was like, if YouTube was in here, this would look a lot worse in terms of like time spent on social media.
That's the only social media I spend time on.
Yeah.
And everyone is so angry in the comments. The anger of the comments in general, like not our channel, just reading other channels, is like, wow, everybody's so angry.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you are on YouTube, because a lot of the stuff I follow is like gardening content or like nature walks, and people are usually pretty like
I mean,
chill.
I'll be seeing things like it's like one orange brain cell in the videos, and then like I'll just be scrolling all the comments are like, oh, it's so cute, happy, and then it's just like your cat is stupid. It's just like what?
I think that's some of the most vocal people, right?
Yeah,
are the people who are just want to
they just have a
down.
deep frothing rage in their soul.
And they don't interact with real people because nobody wants to be around that.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me go online and hate on some people. The haters. We've known about them for years. And maybe one way, if you are one of those kinds of people, maybe you can like cleanse your mind, get into some yoga, get into some meditation, find some Zen, but it will cost you.
In reversal, Apple's demanding 30% of donations to mediation app Insight Timers teachers. So this is an app where the company doesn't actually make most of the money. You can give the money to the people. And so Apple is saying we want 30% of that. But historically, 47 times, they said, no, this is really a tip. And because it's a tip, we don't take a percentage of that. And there is actually a carve-out in California law. It may be against California law for Apple to take money that is a tip for someone, maybe, possibly, which is maybe why Apple had that carve-out in their terms of service to begin with. But Apple's apparently changed their mind arbitrarily, without warning. Just, hey, by the way, we need some money.
Isn't the tip thing pretty common, I think, even outside of California? Like, because it's originally designed to protect people who work at like restaurants. You can't have the owner taking out bits of the tip.
See, here's how they get around that. That was always presented as a gratuity, like a person-to-person thing, and that was exempted. But they're like, no, we've decided this is now media. Yeah. It's a video. Mm-hmm. So you're delivering media, we get 30% of media.
Which, again, it's like Apple is hideous. It's like you don't get to $1 trillion company by being reasonable.
Well, here's another large company, and generally we would be absolutely just calling for their demise, and I still am. But in this case, we must side with them.
Yes.
Because this is the right thing.
Cox Communication wins order overturning a $1 billion U.S. copyright verdict. This is good. We originally reported on this, I think, way back when. And this was a piracy thing. And it's like, hey, Cox is not doing enough to stop piracy for people that use Cox Communications for an ISP. And Cox somehow lost. I think they didn't really put a lot of legal, like their lawyers, they were just like, let's get the cheap lawyers to deal with this because it's obviously stupid. It did not work out for them, but they got it overturned finally. And so this is a win for free people, even though it's also a win for Cox.
But a temporary win because this prevents that ruling, but they have to retry the case. So they don't just win.
Now
So
with real lawyers, maybe.
it'll stretch on for years and years and years. We'll talk about it some more.
Fun times.
And here is an example of what happens when open source goes corporate.
Nginx core developer quits project and security dispute and starts free Nginx fork.
So F5 bought Nginx, and this seems to center around the original developer not wanting security bulletins created about Nginx, which is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's some details that we're missing here, but
Yeah, I don't know. Like F5, I don't know. Because F5's got a little bit of a history there too. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
F5 is saying, hey, we found a security issue. We released it. How can you argue against that? And apparently his argument was, I'd already fixed it. It was going to be fixed in the next version. There was no reason to do it. But I think information is still valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, you still have to do a disclosure, I think.
And what's Nvidia doing with all that money? Well, they're doing some updates.
Nvidia is finally replacing GeForce Experience with this all-in-one Nvidia app. The Nvidia app beta is available to download starting today. And get this, logging in is optional. GeForce Experience, the login, no one ever wanted that. I think this is also, like personally, I see this as a sea change in like AMD's driver stack is finally good enough that it has features in it you want to use. AMD's driver doesn't require a login. And to get at some of the same kinds of like automatically configure my game and like make it suck less and run better, you need a GeForce Experience, but you had to log in. But nobody wants to log in. Like, why would you want to log into your video driver? Whoever wanted that? Like, that's not. No one.
The
wants
advertising people wanted it.
Jensen Wang.
Yeah. Other than that, no one wanted that, and so now AMD's good enough. They're like, oh shit, we better take that out. Spicy.
The UX people were probably thrilled. They're like, oh, we get to redesign it. Good for you guys.
Yeah, do you know how soul crushing it is when you do this amazing thing and they're like, great, add the newsletter pop up, and it's just like, no, please.
Also,
no.
we want to change the fonts and like. Also, there's too much white space. Can we make everything smaller?
Well, unfortunately,
that was a world-weary sigh.
And I'm weary of that. I'm also weary of everything increasing in price exponentially forever.
Twitch warns a U.S. sub price increase is extremely likely after international updates.
Oh, Twitch chat. Our Twitch chat.
No.
This is going to be tough on our whales,
Yeah.
which is where all our subs come from.
Yeah, if you just pop into our Twitch channel at any point, you're probably gonna get a sub even if you don't want one.
One guy straight up told me, he's like, I just watched a random video that you had and thought I should go buy stock in that company. And he was like, I'm just going to keep sending you money.
Well, if he would have picked Nvidia, it could have funded us for the next 7 years. But these people have no funding left. They are done.
Vice Media stops publishing on website and cuts hundreds of jobs. This economy do be like that, don't it? It's like, yay, used to help people with VMware. Now everyone is climbing the walls to get away from VMware.
But Vice used to be something much different.
Yeah.
They transformed, and now they've transformed themselves out of business. Congratulations. And here's an interesting calling out genders, which, I mean, fizz.org, did they not get the memo about 2024?
Study finds anti-piracy messages backfire, especially for men. You wouldn't download a car. Well, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I would. Hell yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, with electric vehicles and 3D printing, someday, maybe. But they figured out that women generally, when they popped up a warning, they might go for it, but men usually were like, I'm just going to pirate harder. How dare you tell me what to do?
Listen, I've given a lot of money for Always Sunny, and it was more ephemeral than I expected, and that is disappointing.
Well, you know what is advertised as being ephemeral, but pro-criminal tip, it's not at all. They keep it all, and they immediately give cops access to it.
Snapchat isn't liable for connecting a 12-year-old to convicted bad things. Filling the mind with your imagination, or filling with your yeah, it's bad. But Snapchat is like, hey, it's the algorithm, and the court said, yeah, okay, that's reasonable.
And I don't want to victim blame here, but this is a wild story because this little girl got on Snapchat, connected with somebody through, I guess they got a feature, what was it called? Like Connect Immediately or Quick Add or something like that, where it's just like, give me random contacts. Turned out to be the worst kind of person. She was R-worded.
Oh.
2 years later, she went right back to Snapchat and it happened again.
At that point, that's a parenting thing too.
That's something. Uh-oh.
Oh, this is Wired. You gotta.
Signal.
Wired used to be so great.
Well, it's all going down.
Yeah.
But Signal, they are recognized as being a really secure way to communicate, but they don't play around with anything. It's just your phone number. Do you really want everybody you talk to on Signal to have your phone number? Probably not.
Signal is going to finally roll out usernames so you can keep your phone number private. Or you could have signed up for a temporary SMS service and then just done it that way.
But they point out, and this sounds like maybe the corporate team, the sales team got a hold of this, because it's your phone number, then you choose a username, then you choose a profile name. They add you via your username, but then the contact transforms into the profile name. So I message at Krista, and then it changes into Rue Mommy 69. And it's not the same person. It's just going to confuse people.
Seems like that would also be ripe for social engineering.
I have duplicated the Reddit story. Oh, this is the reason that I had the double Reddit story, because I had it in 2 spots.
Yes. Reddit has reportedly signed over its content to train AI models.
Surprising no one.
$60 million. Google is going to write them a check, and they get all that yummy, delicious content.
And then you'll never be able to trust a review article again because it's just regurgitating random content.
I mean, that's pretty good. That's like a tenth of a penny per word written by people.
But they desperately need it because their own models are starting to pollute themselves.
Yeah.
So Reddit is a kind of a virgin source of actual information.
That means we got to fill it with garbage quickly. Let's punish them for doing that.
It's pretty garbage already, but the other neat thing is that a lot of the content on Reddit was already well organized into subreddits. So if you want to, the physics sub is really super well organized, and you can just not include huge numbers of subreddits to keep a lot of the noise out.
And Mr. Elon Musk, of course, always in the news. In this case, maybe his commitment to free speech outshined his commitment to operational security.
Twitter security staff kept firm in compliance by disobeying Musk, the FTC says. So some stuff that some journalists said, hey, wait a minute, that means that these journalists got access to Twitter data that they were forbidden from having access to as of a 2022 compliance order, which is weird. Like, this article doesn't get into that and what that was, and the Twitter files and what that was, and what that ultimately became, and what it started out life as, which is frustrating.
They say a journalist was given, well, Elon Musk said you can have access to everything. You get a master account, you can do whatever you want. And some of the guys over at compliance were like,
absolutely not.
Why don't you just let us fetch what you need? And I'm assuming they're talking about Matt Taibbi because he did the Twitter files. It seems like they didn't really censor what he got. They just put a human in between him and the database. Yeah, which is not a terrible idea, I guess. I mean, he certainly found a lot.
And the FTC said, yes, this was fine. This actually did maintain compliance.
And it sounded, did you interpret this as they just basically didn't tell Elon about that?
Yeah.
Just like let him.
I mean, how else do you work under that guy? You just got to lie to him, I think.
Tell him what he wants to hear, which is how we got the Cybertruck. Over in India, they are having some issues with the farmers because it seems like the food is deflating in India, or at least the producer prices are deflating, and they're not happy about that. So what do? Of course, you do the same playbook that they do every single time. You censor.
India farmers protest. X admits to taking down posts and accounts.
Look at them with their tractors out there.
We always bring this up. It's like in India, like their system, like that's what. It's not like because X is an American company, it's going to be American ideals in some other country. Like, literally, no. This is just like Apple doing Chinese stuff in China and Apple doing Indian stuff in India. Like this is.
But if you were serious about it, if you were like, I'm 100% free speech, like Elon Musk claims he is, wouldn't you just be like, fine, we won't be in India?
Yeah. That is an important takeaway from this story.
But there's a lot of people in India.
It's a lot of customers.
A lot of money can be extracted from it. And this one points out the automated aspect of our censorship these days. Because, again, Mr. Free Speech, if you ask him this, he probably would have said, obviously, no, we don't want to do that. But he's not making the decision. It's going through some weird robot bureaucracy.
X social media platform restores the account of Navalny's widow, Yulia Navalny, after a brief suspension. So there was
probably mass reported.
The opposition leader, would you say, in Russia died under mysterious circumstances in Russia.
Wait a minute. Is her name a weird feminized version of his?
I'm not sure how Russian works, but certain languages do that, where it's like there's a different for feminine versus masculine. I don't know if Russian's that way, but
so immediately, but like all kinds of bad things are happening to her in terms of, at least if you would, it seems like, I mean, I don't know.
Well, some bad things happened to him.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like as a result of just being married to him, like, and his brother and just like the family, like there's just, it seems like a lot of like things that should be exposed to sunlight are happening.
That tends to be how the communists play it. They go after the family. And these people had a fledgling family, and they decided to take their medical diagnosis, as obviously everybody does, to TikTok. And once they got that diagnosis, they didn't think about a second opinion.
90 Day Fiance stars criticized for fundraiser appeal after cancer diagnosis, quote unquote, from TikTok videos. So this wasn't a doctor's diagnosis, right? Did I understand this correctly?
Well, I guess it could have been a doctor on TikTok, but I kind of doubt it.
you can't, there's no way to check those credentials.
Yeah.
Because it was like, this just seems like just really dumb people. Like,
Someone saw me in a video and was like, they have cancer.
No. So she was searching for symptoms that she had, and the TikTok was like, that's colon cancer.
Well, that's how you feel about WebMD as well. Like you have a headache and it's like you're dying.
But when you got that diagnosis, you might be like, oh my God, I need to figure out what this is. She immediately started asking for money for the treatment, for the cancer. When she was called out on it, or when they were both called out on it, they were like, yeah, we understand that that's not a guaranteed diagnosis, but in order to get the medical care to actually get the diagnosis, we still need your money, so we're going to keep it.
obviously.
Now is this too spicy?
That's probably right.
I would qualify it as too spicy.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, check the one tab chat.
I can give you the headline. The RFK Jr. wins a deferred injunction against the Vax social media suit. And you can fill in the rest with your imagination.
Well, it was proven that the White House, through the Twitter files, was
doing some stuff.
Was censoring pretty much everything. So they're not allowed to do that anymore. At least until... So his case got rolled in with another case from, I think, Missouri. And that's going to Supreme Court. So until that time, White House is not allowed to meddle. Afterwards, they might be able to again. It might be sanctioned. And here's an interesting... by violating the terms of service for an online thing, can you create... I guess you can sue anybody for any reason, right? But can he possibly win this?
Former Rep. George Santos sues late-night host Jimmy Kimmel for allegedly deceiving him into creating Cameo videos. So if you're on Cameo, you can just request somebody make a video, and that's what Jimmy Kimmel did.
Paid him for it. Now, Cameo says you can't rebroadcast those videos. He rebroadcasted on his network TV show and on social media. So that seems to be the grounds where Santos is going after him. It'd be a shame if he won. He's actually shooting pretty low. I guess he's probably having a tough time right now because he's unemployable probably. He's only looking for 150,000. And Generation Alpha. We've got a new...
Hot new, everyone wake up, there's a new generation drop.
And we can dump all our problems onto them. But if Variety is correct, which, what are the odds of that? I think I got a lot of respect for the Alphas. Because it seems like they're recognizing what their horrible millennial parents did wrong.
Generation Alpha media habits come into focus in Paramount study. Yes. Critical thinking skills. Excellent.
So what do they focus on? Privacy, which is wild.
Probably because they've been uploaded all over the internet since the age they were, not even out of diapers yet.
That was one of the things. They don't, when their parents point cameras at them, they're like, stop doing that. I don't want to be on that. They like to consume media, video media, but they don't spend a lot of time on social media.
That's good.
See, this is what I'm always confused by because we were talking about like YouTube earlier. I feel like YouTube has some social aspects to it, but it's not classified as social media for some reason.
I think some people classify it as
like
that.
it's more consumptive.
You can consume a lot of YouTube without ever being social.
That's true. I feel like you can do that. Like Facebook's the same way. I consume lots of stuff on the Facebook Marketplace. I just hoover up weird listings on there, but I don't ever really like.
But Facebook Marketplace is also not social media so much, right?
I mean, I guess it's owned by Facebook, but yeah.
Because eBay is not social media.
That's true.
But YouTube is doing something right. However, this decision, I don't understand at all.
I don't either.
I had to kind of read this a couple of times to try to figure out what exactly.
Nobody knows what this is.
Yeah.
YouTube is experimenting with red, blue, and green video feeds. Basically, the algorithm is trying to decide what mood you're in and give you the appropriate feed.
You got to click the continue reading button.
So let them see that screenshot that pops up. I haven't seen this, but I saw this obviously in the article.
So somehow.
I think it's literally just by thumbnail color.
That's wild.
Which I don't understand. That's what I was telling you guys when I sent you the story this week. I was like, is there going to be like a bad thumbnail color? Are we going to have to optimize our thumbnails for color engagement?
Since they're going with RGB, obviously, like political focus might end up there, right?
Well, for a hardware channel, it'd be Nvidia, AMD, and Intel, right?
Well, I
Green
think
RGB. Yeah.
there's probably more political commentary than there is for the other one. But yeah, I guess you could do subsets of that kind of thing.
Yeah, depending on what niche your channel caters to.
This is an amazing AI apocalypse story.
Yeah, and
this was hilarious.
The thing, I get caught by these a lot, right? When I'm just trying to find, like, what is a good X that I could maybe trust not to burn my house down, and it's always just AstroTurf. And where do you look?
How Google is killing independent sites like ours, and why you shouldn't trust product recommendations from big media publishers ranking to the top of Google. It's not even big media publishers. It's just people that are gaming the algorithm by writing AI and SEO content. It is not big media publishers. If you just go Google, like, I want to build an air filter, and just go do that, and then look at the top 5 or 6 results, it is obvious that human beings are not at the helm anymore, and that Google has become a hollowed out husk of what they once were in terms of search engine quality.
This person cares deeply about air filters, and they were describing how each of these sites, this is not a good air filter because of this. They obviously didn't test this because of this.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they point out the little things that you can do to game the system. Like if you look at here, it says tested and reviewed. So they pointed out that was always present in the headline because that's what the Google SEO looks for. But a lot of these sites were review sites, and he poured over those sites to try to find where they actually tested and reviewed this stuff. They had not.
Yeah.
A man passionate about air filters.
Yeah, it's the end game for this is that the algorithm that reads and ranks this content is up against another algorithm that just makes up stuff. So the only thing that Google can do is have a list of trusted sites. We're going back to the beginning of the internet. Remember, what was it? What was the index? And it was it was a huge SEO boost if you were on the index of the internet. Remember, there was a site that was just a big list of big sites on the internet.
No, but I remember keyword stuffing.
I remember a lot of index sites, but I don't remember specific.
We're going back to that. They have to start from ground zero. They have to start from there. And it's yes, this was or is a trusted site for X. It's all we can do.
But we could do that like we do ad blocking.
Yeah.
We could maintain lists, which is crowdsourced. You'd have to try to keep the bad actors out of it somehow. But you probably have to do that for those as well, right?
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is you're going to become an authority, which is bad.
Yeah.
But look what we got now.
It is a trash fire.
And now that Reddit's probably going to get a lot worse. Like, at least before you could sometimes find real human interaction on Reddit to find out a review, but now.
What if Chrome rolls out a feature where you can rate a website and you just be like, this website is terrible. Every time I get a result like that from Chrome, like I would actually use that. It's like, no, I don't want to see this again. If Google wants to add that to my profile, fine, whatever.
Yeah, well, listen, we could build a plugin.
Yeah. Well, Google doesn't do that with YouTube as it is. It's like, no, I really think you
Oh
want to
my
watch
gosh.
this. And it's just
Yeah.
no.
I have to have a special search add-on to get rid of some of that crap.
I would love to see my don't recommend channel list.
Yeah.
It's probably got 100,000 entries on it at this point.
All right, that's enough of that.